Adam, I'm 17 years old.
Who's your favorite president?
I have a wife and children. Who depends on you, Adam? Your mom?
Okay, I also have
if you want to make it personal,
other, so you want to go personal?
You have a significant other.
We can go as personal as you.
Hey, what's up, guys? What's up, guys? If you have not seen this debate, this, I don't know if we can actually call this a debate or a slaughter. I don't know how we can seriously grade this. It's almost as if one person was just sucker punching the other person till the end. Adam Sosnick of the PBD platform. Patrick Bet-David needs to fire this guy now. If Patrick Bet-David keeps this guy and allow him to keep disgracing him and his organization. I know Patrick Bet-David is also one of them. I'm suspecting that Patrick Bet-David and Adam Sosnick are just two best friends. Because if they are not best friends, because why do you have him on the PBD platform? Why do you have him on that platform? This Vinny and Tom are the two people on that platform. I know Vinny, sometimes he's almost like he doesn't want to really say what he thinks. And I like Vinny because Vinny doesn't try to make it as if he's very intelligent. As if Vinny just says what he thinks. Vinny just gives his opinion. And he doesn't sugarcoat. Sometimes he does. He's MAGA. He's MAGA, by the way. But this one, guys, if you have not watched this one, go and watch how a fellow, not even a fellow, how a man had his balls sliced like in tiny pieces and rubbed, and there was hot chili rubbed on his balls. He was destroyed. He had nothing to say. I don't know why Piers Morgan, what is wrong with you? He should sue you because that was a trap that you set for him. And the stupid guy fell into that trap and was trying to, I don't even know what he was trying to do. But anyway, guys, you have to see this. You have to see this for yourself. Check this out. And by the way, do not forget to smash that subscription button. And also, I'll keep saying this, guys. If you are an American and you really want to understand politics, go and check out Adam Mokla feed. This young lad is only 21, 22, but he is going places. He has a huge political career in front of him. I see him becoming the president of the United States. If he carries on, if he's not corrupted, I see him as a Democrat frontrunner for president in the next 40 years. No, not 40, sorry. He's 22. So in the next, he might be the youngest. He might beat Barack Obama. I see this guy. Go and check his feed. I'll drop the comment. I'll drop his YouTube channel on the comment section below. Most Americans should know of him now because he appears on CNN. He debates a lot of people. So go check him out. And you just have to get some popcorn because you are in for a ride. Enjoy. See you guys. I'm out.
Well, this sort of quaint notion now being peddled by people in the mainstream media that the podcast world is irrelevant. No one's ever heard of any of the podcasters or we YouTubers or anything. And we should all just be ignored. I don't think that's true.
Oh, I mean, it's patently absurd on its face. I mean, again, I'm not trying to like overstate the influence that any one podcast or show has. But I mean, lots of people listen to shows. They don't necessarily agree completely with the host of that show. But again, you know, to say, look, I mean, Pierce, if you look at the polls, what the polls tell us is that this is the most unpopular war in American history going into the war. And CNN is going to read you these North Korea numbers. Actually, in fact, I think it was better than Kim Jong-un did in his last election, 100% of MAGA. But what does that really mean? I mean, the truth is, Pierce, you kind of nailed it here in your opening, right? Even when Joe Biden was clearly senile and was forced to pull out of his reelection campaign, the majority of Biden supporters still supported him, and like there was still going to be like 40-something% of the electorate would have voted for Joe Biden. Now, that wasn't enough, though, and that's why they forced him out, because you need a coalition to carry you here. So this comes down to like how you're defining MAGA. If you want to say Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn and Andrew Schultz and all these guys, they're not MAGA. Well, okay, but they were relevant enough for Donald Trump to go on all of their shows in the campaign. And the point is that the coalition that got Donald Trump elected in 24, that got him for the first time ever to win the popular vote, that coalition has been destroyed. And the final thing I'll say is this, Pierce, I made this prediction on my show the other day, but right now you kind of have these two, broadly speaking, camps, say Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, maybe people like me, who are saying the coalition has been destroyed. And then on the other side, you have people like you played Bacha, Ben Shapiro, who are saying, no, the coalition is fine. What we've learned is that Tucker Carlson doesn't matter. Give it a couple months, Pierce, and I promise you, everyone on that side will say the coalition has been destroyed and it's Tucker's fault. This is going to tank Donald Trump's presidency. We're already past the point of that. The Democrats are going to win the House and the Senate. It's going to be impeachments and subpoenas and investigations for the next 2 years. And I don't think anyone from this administration can win the presidential in 28 at this pace.
Right. Well, Adam, you're part of a very successful podcast. Patrick Bet-David's been a regular on this show, as have other members of your great team. And, I would say just from a personal, you can only judge it personally, I guess, but I've been on some of the biggest TV shows, mainstream TV shows you could think of, right? America's Got Talent for 6 years. Britain's Got Talent. I replaced Larry King at CNN. They aired my show 3 times a day in America and around the world, and so on and so on. And what's been fascinating to me in the last couple of years is I get more people come up to me in the street, wherever I am, whether it's New York, LA, London, Sydney, the Middle East, whatever. More people come up, and they're a bit younger than came up when I did any of those shows. And they're all coming up about my YouTube show, and they're all watching it avidly, and they're watching other shows like yours, like Dave's, Tucker, because they talk to me about all this. I had 2 guys last week from Denmark, 19 I think they were, stopped me in the street in West London. Passionate viewers of Uncensored, right? It was really fascinating to talk to them. So I just think this idea that people who operate away from mainstream media now, like you, like me, like Dave, like others, that we're kind of irrelevant and no one knows who we are, is completely contradicted by reality. I just see it in the streets. So I don't know whether it's self-preservation going on, that the mainstream media doesn't want to accept. There's been a shift in power. But what do you think?
So we're talking about the mainstream media. So how much trust do you have in the mainstream media? But so let me answer that. So number one, Pierce, great to be with you. Dave, good to see you. It's been a little while. And thank you for dressing up, Dave. The question that you're asking is, are young people watching social media and they're watching YouTube? Obviously, duh. My mom still watches the news at 8 p.m. and if she misses it, that's it. She doesn't see it. She hasn't figured out how to get on social media. She still tries to ask me how to find me on YouTube and on Instagram. But yes, the 35 and under crowd is on social media. And I'll tell you an anecdote. I'm a registered independent. I'd never voted for Trump. And then I, had common sense and realized you vote for Trump, who might be brutish and an a-hole, or you vote for a weak, feckless, I wouldn't even call it leader like Kamala, and obviously the choice is pretty easy. But I would debate with my liberal friends, one that was very, very, very tight with the Clinton people, part of the Hillary campaign. And he noticed as I was starting to become more, let's just say, less Trump hating. This is in 2023, 2024, run up to the election. And then he goes, dude, I don't even know what happened to you. You're like full on MAGA now. I go, no, I just have common sense. I see what's going on the radical left, and it's so un-American to me. And he goes, yeah, you're just in your little YouTube world. I'm in the real world with the real politicians and the real polls. I got the real stuff going on. I go, hey, buddy, his name is John. I go, John, this is the real world now, guy. Yeah, well, we'll see. So obviously we see what happens in the election. This is not the type of person that likes to apologize, right? Comes up to me and he goes, Adam, I was dead wrong. You're right. This is a new YouTube world. Congratulations on all your success. Pierce, and welcome to the YouTube world. It is what it is.
Okay, well, we're sort of in broad agreement there. Let's get to broad disagreement, I suspect, which is the way this war is playing out. I mean, Dave, I've really struggled to work out the upside for Donald Trump from the start of this. Doing this so close to the midterms, doing exactly what he said he wouldn't do, which is he was going to stop, attacking Middle Eastern countries. It was all going to be America first, a premium on sorting out American problems in America. And then suddenly he launches a war on one of the biggest countries in the Middle East, certainly one of the best armed. And all hell has broken loose, not least to the global economy, which is inevitably going to have, and already is having, a very detrimental effect on living standards for average Americans. If I'm an American that voted for Trump, I'm like, I don't get this. I might in a poll say, I get it, but I don't think I really get it.
Yeah, and then you also have to consider there, Pierce, right? Like there's a sizable percentage of people who support Donald Trump, who approve of the job broadly that he's been doing, who maybe, look, we're 3 weeks or whatever into this, go, all right, I'll kind of give him a chance. We'll see. But if this doesn't turn into any type of win, and if it turns into a clear disaster, which it already seems to be, that's only going to hurt him more and more and more. I think, look, Pierce, it's despite the fact that it is not in my incentives in some way as like a political commentator, like I hope this whole thing just works out great. And then I know that all the people who don't like me will say, ha ha, you were warning that this would be a disaster. I hope that I would much rather take that deal and live in that. But Pierce, the other element there is that, right, we had the 12-day war in the summer. And I've certainly heard, I heard at the time, some on debates that we did on your show and others. And I've heard nothing but since then on social media that, you guys were so stupid. You were warning about exactly what we're seeing right now, which is what all of us were warning about who are critics of the 12-day war. Iran didn't do that. And they were like, look, we got away with it. One and done. No Americans dead. And that's it. We don't have to do anything else. They spent the following 6 months bragging about how the nuclear threat had been totally obliterated. Now we find ourselves, Pierce, back in this same situation. And as I mentioned last time on your show, the big picture here is that clearly the calculation changed for Iran. They no longer feel that it's in their incentive for self-preservation to not strike back and kill Americans or not do maximal damage. And now, clearly, with a younger, more radical Ayatollah who has not promised to not build nuclear weapons, they've made the calculation that actually they can't not give us a bloody nose, that they have to really make this cost us. Otherwise, we'll be back in another few months doing it again. And of course, at the beginning of this war, Donald Trump said this was a full regime change war and called for the people to rise up and overthrow their government. And the people did rise up, Pierce, in support of their martyr Ayatollah and in support of this regime. I know you saw some of those aerial shots. There must have been hundreds of thousands of people out in the streets in Tehran, in the most liberal part of the country, supporting the regime. So I'm sorry, at this point, this just looks like a catastrophe. And the best we can hope for at this point is that it only ends up killing like 10,000 people, and it only ends up costing tens of billions of dollars rather than the 200 that Secretary Hegseth has asked for. And this all relies on two major factors. Think about this, Pierce. It's not just that Donald Trump has to call it quit and declare victory or whatever, but then we got two other entities that are majorly involved in this war, Iran and Israel. Now, we know at this point, Iran is saying they're vowing not to stop. They talk a lot of bluster. Who knows? Maybe they will. But Israel, Pierce, we all know they want the regime change here. In the 12-day war and in this war already, they've hit targets after Trump has clearly asked them not to. Who's to say they don't continue doing that? And it begs a real question of how we get out of this quagmire. Yeah, 3 weeks in, we're already there.
Right. So, Adam, you've had a little spat with Dave on social media. When he called it an illegal war of aggression on X, you said, come on, guy, read the room. Dave responded, let's not pretend you read, Adam. To which you replied, I'm able to read scoreboards. You are losing big time. Mm-hmm. Do you still feel that? I mean, do you still feel that? Because I would argue that the scoreboards militarily absolutely would show that the United States and Israeli combined forces have inflicted enormous damage on Iran's military capability. I think that's inarguable. However, what I don't think has been properly factored in by the Americans and Israelis is the ability of Iran to wage an economic war in parallel to a military war. And that by controlling the Straits of Hormuz and by attacking, as they have done, their neighboring Gulf states, both oil refineries and tourist hotspots and so on, they've managed to freak everybody out, and they freaked the global markets. And this is incredibly damaging to Donald Trump, because every day that Straits of Hormuz is shut, then you will see the impact for the next few weeks and months coming through the US economy and the global economy, but the US economy. You know, when fertilizer, when the impact of that being stopped comes through in a couple of months' time, it takes a while to cut through to the actual people of America. But it will, and when it does, it's going to be very damaging. Do you not think that the longer this goes on, the more of a miscalculation has been made here?
Look, I'm not the Trump is the all be MAGA guy. I'm the guy that was like, yeah, I'm not so sure about this Trump guy. You know what? Oh, I got the fake news. Oh, Russia. Oh, it turns out, yeah, you know, he's way better than the other side. So I had to use logic and a measured approach to get me to the point where I'm like, he's the guy. So I'll ask you another question. Let's say Trump wasn't here. What's Kamala doing?
Oh, no,
So everything in politics is binary.
I think Kamala Harris would have been a terrible president. I thought Joe Biden was a terrible president. And I've always said with Trump, I think I find myself agreeing with some of the things he does and disagreeing with others, which I think is the right way to deal with Trump. I think if you just judge him on what comes out of his mouth...
Well, that's just like with anything, Piers. You're not going to agree with everybody and disagree with that.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
and look, when I came on the PBD podcast, I loved it because we disagree about stuff, and you guys come on, we disagree, we agree. We never fall out over it, and nor should anybody, right? But on this specific call about Iran, I did say on day one, I think this is a massive gamble, and I don't understand the timing, and I think the capacity for this to go badly wrong is very high. The longer it has gone on, because Trump originally was like, this is over in days, then it's over in a couple of weeks, then everything started changing, then the regime change he said was going to happen with people rising up. None of that has happened. There are lots of reasons for it. I think the reason we saw so many pro-regime people hit the streets was they were not going to get killed doing it. We saw in January when people protested against the regime, a lot got killed. And obviously there are bombs flying around all over the cities of Iran, which will also put people off, I guess. So there are lots of reasons, I guess, why people are protesting or not protesting in certain ways. But to me, the justification for this war has changed so many times. It's made me think, I don't think Donald Trump has any clear idea of what victory looks like. Do you? I mean, if the regime remains intact and they keep their enriched uranium, for example, and they maintain control of the Straits of Hormuz, is that victory?
Well, look, this was not an easy decision. You think, these guys have been in power 47 years. Everybody in our microwave hustle society wants this done in the next 4 to 7 weeks. It's going to take some time. And we've already, I was talking to a good Navy SEAL, buddy of mine, Navy SEAL. He said, dude, we've taken out 80% of their military capacity. Not bad in less than a month. So let the guy cook a little bit. So you also talk about, Dave, that, oh yeah, they had people out there pro-regime. Yeah, nobody's denying that 10 to maybe 20% max of the country is pro-regime. But what about the 80% of the country? That's like if Dave had a comedy show, there was 100 people that magically showed up to Dave's comedy show. Oh my God, he has so many fans. Dude, there's 100,000 people outside that didn't go to the show. I'm not being like brutish or sarcastic, but just you're taking a small sample size and extrapolating that for the entire country. We all know
just to be clear,
who this regime is.
Oh, hang on, Adam.
We all know that this is a terrorist regime.
Just to be technically correct on that argument you're making, if 100 people turned up to watch Dave's show, then technically over 8 billion chose not to.
Correct, and that's pretty uniform at this point.
This is really making me feel bad about my numbers on the road.
It doesn't necessarily mean that 8 billion people.
Yeah,
it
Dave,
doesn't mean there are 8 billion people who don't like Dave Smith.
I used to own a couple. No, it's fine. I mean, I actually do like Dave Smith. Let me tell you a Dave Smith story. I actually have respect for Dave Smith. But I realized who Dave Smith is, and I would say this to his face or on camera, Dave Smith is a radical libertarian. Don't take my word for it. You've said this multiple times. Have you not, Dave Smith?
Said what? That I'm a radical libertarian? Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yes. Okay, perfect. So when you're radical, what's another word
what I
for
believe in it? Well, what I believe in is true Americanism.
Radical? Extremist. Okay, this is why
these are all relative terms.
This is why you call. Sure, this is why you call the U.S. military the greatest terrorist organization on earth, right? Because you're a true American, because you're a true patriot. Is that why, Dave? Because something tells me you have what is known as clickbait of the mouth, and you're using these instances, these wars, to garner attention for you. You have the American flag behind you, yet you have the hypocrisy of saying the United States military, United States is the greatest terror organization the world has ever seen. I mean, I don't understand what's going on here. This is why you're radical.
I didn't say
by
the
the way,
world's
I tell you what, hang on, just to be fair to Dave, let's replay what he actually said on this show, which caused all the furore, led by Ben Shapiro. We'll play what he said, and I'll play what Shapiro said about it, and then we'll come back to Dave for a response.
The IDF is the worst terrorist organization in the region. Let's get real. The United States of America is arguably the worst terrorist organization in the world. If you want to look over the last 25 years, how many innocent civilians we've slaughtered.
It doesn't matter, it turns out, how many times you appear on Joe Rogan's show or how many times you hide behind your title of comedian who holds the Guinness Book of World Records for fewest jokes told, or how many times you spew puerile analogies that demonstrate nothing but unbelievable, willful ignorance of the nature of war. I'm sorry, but you hate the country if you say America is the worst terrorist organization in the world. You just do. Now, I know that Dave Smith is super duper excited that his name was mentioned here. And he's sitting there shouting at his TV screen in his basement, "Debate me, bro!" To which I answer, nah. I don't debate with trolls who claim that America is the biggest terrorist state in the world because that is idiotic.
So, Dave, as you know, that all blew up. A lot of debate raged about it. Clarify what you meant. Do you regret phrasing it the way you did? Just give us a bit more meat on the bone.
No, I don't regret phrasing it the way I did, and I'll be very clear about what I'm saying. I will point out that it's quite something for Ben Shapiro. Just since you played him, I got to respond to him first. That he goes, "Oh, I just won't debate with this guy because this is so beyond the pale." Ben Shapiro made his name debating 19-year-old communist Maoists who were confused about their gender. So somehow, Piers, we're going to have to believe here that I'm so much less serious than the children who Ben Shapiro made a career debating. I loved your response to him where you pointed out some of the goofy segments that he does on his show. I mean, personally, I really stay away from that stuff. And, for Adam, I think to say it's clickbait or that I just want to get out in front of the camera, I think we're all equally in front of a camera right now. And it's kind of weird to accuse someone else. I very much believe the things I'm saying.
Dave,
now, to Adam's point,
Dave, don't run from your comment.
I'm trying to
address
get to
the
it,
comment, not Ben Shapiro, would you? Good,
yes,
let's go, wrap it up.
No, I'm going to make the points I want to make.
You called the United States military.
You're just slowing. Okay, so
you called the United States military the greatest terror organization in the world.
Adam,
defend.
Just let me answer. No problem. I'm going to go back to the order I was going to go in. To Adam's point, when Adam says I'm a radical libertarian and I say that this is true Americanism, I mean, look, my favorite founding father is Thomas Paine. Not everyone considers him a founding father. And maybe I love him so much because he never held a government position and didn't own slaves, which I thought was pretty cool. But Benjamin Franklin said he was the most consequentialist and the one person most responsible for the United States of America existing. His famous pamphlet that he wrote was called Common Sense. And I think on the first or second line of it, he says, government is at best a necessary evil. So at best, he's like, this is clearly on the anarchist to night watchman state spectrum was what true Americanism was when it started. Now, for me to say what I made the point, and I've made this point a million times on your show, Piers, I was saying when people come on and say Iran is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism, well, just like give me an objective definition of what terrorism means, and then let's apply that standard universally. And if you're going to sit here and say, look, America has given billions, tens of billions of dollars to the IDF in the last few years. We've also, by the way, given a lot of weapons and money. Your first guest on this show there, the head of the Obama deep state, was using Al-Qaeda, bin Ladenite head choppers on the ground in Libya and in Syria. And yes, Adam, I would also consider it when our politicians lie us into wars that slaughter millions of innocent people and in many cases target those innocent people. I consider that terrorism as well. There's the answer, Adam. And if you want to keep doing this, buddy, you could tell me to check the scoreboard. I'll run circles around you on this, dude. Check the scoreboard. Most unpopular war in American history going in. Check the scoreboard. 13 dead Americans and 150 plus other wounded. Thousands of innocents, including little schoolgirls in Iran, killed. Dead innocent Israelis. Hundreds of dead innocent people in Lebanon. Millions of innocent people being displaced, all at the cost of tens of billions of dollars and destroying Trump's coalition. Check your scoreboard, Adam. How's it looking for you?
Okay, Dave. So, okay, it's not working well for you, Dave, because
Substantively
you're
respond
still
to any
saying
of that,
that
Adam.
United States. You're saying the United States is a terrorist organization. You've already lost the debate. You live in America, tough guy. You have the luxury of sitting in your little studio with your hooded sweater like you're 17 years old. The regime. Do you mean all American presidents?
I'm 17
Who's your favorite
years old?
president in the last 50 years?
Adam, I'm
Who's
17 years old.
Who's your favorite president in the last 50
I have
years?
a wife and children. Who depends on you, Adam? Your mom?
Okay, I also have
if you want to make it personal,
other, so you want to go personal?
You have a significant
Dave,
other.
we can go as personal as we can go.
No, I'm trying not to.
We can go as personal as you want.
Respond to one thing.
I don't care, Dave.
Adam, some substance.
I don't care.
I know, because you don't know anything.
Dave, you're a radical.
So move on. So stop picking a fight with me, dude. You don't know anything about anything. You're Pat's guy.
I know.
And I
Dave,
like
here's
you,
what
dude. I like you. I
Here's
like
what I
your
will tell
show.
you.
I respect Pat.
Dave, okay. Zay, zip it. Here we go. I'll talk now for a second. I'm defending the military right now. You're basically saying that all our boys that go to the military are all terrorists. That's what you're saying.
No.
You're equating that the United States of America, the IDF, are the equivalent of ISIS and Al-Qaeda. By the way, I also used to respect you until you went on a little podcast called Coleman Hughes. What happened on that podcast, Dave? This is the problem. I'll tell you a quick story. Why don't you do it right now,
Adam? Why don't you do it?
I'll do it right now, Dave. I'll do it right now. Because here's what Dave is. Here's Dave Smith. By the way, 1% of Americans vote for libertarians every year. So you're trying to basically say that you know more than the average American. 1% of Americans vote for your people, Dave. Why don't you run for something? Why don't you stand for something? You stand for nothing.
Okay, can I respond? Again, Pierce, this is the level of substance.
No. Here we go. I'm going to tell you a story, Dave, and then you can respond. Because this is where I lost respect for you as a debater. Because I was like, oh, this guy Dave, he actually knows some stuff. He's doing his thing. And then you showed up on Coleman Hughes' podcast. Pierce, do you know who Coleman Hughes is?
I do. He's been on the show.
I've been on the show with him.
Perfect. That's this guy right here, just in case, if the camera doesn't see.
But what is the point you're making?
I watched this podcast. The point is this. Dave gets out there and he tries to bully people and say that he's so smart. He reads a lot of books. Good for you, Dave. But what happens when you read it to somebody, run into somebody who's way smarter and bullies the bully? I remember growing up in this town of Miami, so there was this kid that used to pick on all the kids that we went to school with. And one day, some new kid showed up, and he goes, oh, yeah, let's go, buddy. Let's do this. And the bully goes, oh, what do you mean? What do you want to do? And he goes, no, yeah, you want to fight everybody? You want to take everybody's lunch? Let's go. And the new kid beat the crap out of the bully. And here's what happened with Dave. He's out there just doing his little podcast thing, debating, like you said, Ben Shapiro, 19-year-olds. And then all of a sudden, this whole conversation about Wesley Clark, and I saw him on your podcast about a week ago, Pierce, and this memo, here you go, Dave. Remember this memo from Wesley Clark that you used to cite everything?
This is adorable.
That you used to cite, yeah, that is adorable because your whole foundation is based on some memo.
Well, I'm not quite sure what, Adam, I'm not quite sure what is the point you're making.
The point is this, Dave has zero credibility at this point. Dave has zero credibility.
Well, you don't really get to decide
and he
that.
ran
the
into somebody
the audience gets
that
to decide
completely bullied. What audience?
Okay.
The four people that show up to your comedy show at the ha.
Yeah. Okay, Dave, you respond.
Okay. Can I respond now because I listened while?
I mean, the question I'd ask you, Dave. The question I'd ask you, Dave, is the way that you're.
Well, let me respond to some of that.
I will, yeah. But I just want to ask you, just on a general level.
How are you going to respond to what Coleman Hughes did to you? There was like a body bag after that debate.
Let him respond.
Well, you ain't doing nothing,
Go
bro.
for it.
You're sitting here talking about what another man did.
You've already been in a body bag, Dave. I'm here to clean up the scraps.
Okay, let me just ask Dave this, which is, as you know, the comment you made about America being a terrorist state and so on, that went pretty viral. Do you understand why a lot of people got very angry about the perceived equivalence between America and terror organizations like ISIS, like Al-Qaeda, and so on?
Yeah, no, well, listen, I mean, there's no question that the head
I don't
chopping...
think he does, but go ahead.
Hey, Adam, I mean, just let me talk now. I understand all you can do here is interrupt and hold up props or something, but let me make a few good points.
I'm just, you said that America's a terrorist organization. You've already lost the debate. Go ahead.
No, I haven't actually, and that's not, you don't really get to decide in the middle of the debate whether I have. It's who moves people more than the other one is really, I guess, the metric. But
you're 1% libertarian. You're really moving people. You're really moving people.
I mean, Adam, I understand this will just be your tactic for the rest of it because you're out of, and you're just out of your depth. But here, okay, yes, actually, I didn't vote for the Libertarian nominee.
Go ahead,
Donald Trump came to the Libertarian Party convention and tried to convince a lot of us to support him, and I'm one of the people who did, and now I'm one of the people who's criticizing this policy. Now, in terms of, obviously, Pierce, it's a provocative statement. I know that when I make it, and I'm not claiming that the American military men are the equivalent of ISIS or Al-Qaeda. Obviously, they're much more barbaric. These head choppers, the one who Leon Panetta and Barack Obama all sold weapons to and partnered with, and the one who Donald Trump recognized as the president of Syria. I'm not saying that one isn't more barbaric than the other. I'm simply making the point, Pierce, that if you define terrorism as targeting civilians in order to affect a political change, then by that objective definition, the U.S. military and the IDF are more guilty of it than anyone else over the last 25 years.
Their argument is always that the U.S. military and the IDF do not deliberately target civilians.
Yes, Pierce, but again, we've been through this.
I'm just saying, for the benefit of fairness,
that's not
true. This is their argument, whereas the difference being that genuine terror groups like ISIS, like Al-Qaeda, they deliberately and brazenly target civilians for political purposes.
Pierce, when you have roaming blackouts for 9 days in Cuba because we've embargoed the energy that can go there, I'm sorry, that is targeting the civilian population. When Hamas slow rolls the remains of dead Israeli prisoners, whatever, I don't know, I get in trouble for using the wrong word. The dead Israelis that they were holding captive, even after all the live ones are out, and the response from the Israeli government is we're going to cut the aid to the civilian population in half, that is targeting civilians. And when you drop bombs all over cities and you know that innocent civilians are going to be killed, that's targeting civilians. Now, as far as some of the other stuff here, look, in terms of the debate with Coleman, I encourage people to go watch that. It's only people who already disagreed with me going in who say I got body bagged there. The rest of the people tend to say it was a kind of a good, respectful back and forth, and both people had some moments. But for Adam to say I only debated children up until Coleman, I debated Dennis Prager, I debated Douglas Murray, I debated Josh Hammer at an Oxford-style debate at Princeton University and absolutely smoked him on the Oxford-style voting. I debated him again at Charlie Kirk's event. I've been coming on this show. How many debates have me and you done, Pierce? I've been willing to debate whoever wants to debate this subject for over 2 years now. And so to say that I'm just being Ben Shapiro and going around to college campuses and debating 19-year-old dudes in wigs claiming to be women, it's just not true, man. I debated Chris Cuomo right in front of you, Adam, the biggest host at CNN. So I just think this is ridiculous. Coleman made some, listen, I'm not going to say a negative thing about Coleman. He didn't attack me. He went at the issues, and I really appreciate and respect that. I've actually been trying to host him on my podcast. I hope he'll do it.
Okay, Adam, your response.
Yeah, and listen, I do respect the fact that Dave does show up.
He does.
I mean, that's like, okay, cool, you showed up. Respect to that. I will give Dave credit. But Dave, and this is why I'm going to keep going back to this, to pretend that it was an even match, an even debate, he put you in a body bag and you're out here still still doubling down on all your positions when he went methodically and surgically.
This is the saddest thing. I've never been in a debate where someone just fell back to someone else's debate. Boom, boom, boom. Name one of the booms. Make the point for yourself. Me and you are supposed to be debating here, brother.
The memo from
Say
Wesley
something.
Clark. The memo from Wesley Clark. Your whole
what's your
foundation
point?
for your Israel. So listen up, little guy. So
Make
your
the
whole
point.
foundation for
guy.
Israel dragging America into war was that this memo from Wesley Clark showed up, and that's the reason that America got suckered into the Iraq war, because Israel convinced him to do it. And he went and surgically and methodically and very calmly was like, Dave, you don't know what you're talking about. Your entire foundation crumbled. And you're dipping,
so
you're
let's
doing your little
can
thing
I respond?
where you're drinking your
Can
nicotine.
I respond to this?
So, but the point is this. Your Holland's
Man,
Opus,
you are real-
this 3-hour debate with Coleman Hughes, it wasn't close, Dave. And that's fine. You want to sort of be a revisionist.
That's your opinion.
And say, you know
No,
what?
I'm not
it was,
being revisionist.
We went
It's
point
your-
for point. No, Dave, that was any person with logic, because you didn't have a response. Your only response was,
this is so
go read the
ridiculous,
book.
dude.
Adam, it is an unusual position to spend.
It's not ridiculous.
Adam, it's an unusual position that I've had you guys
Because
on.
that was the aha moment for me,
and so far,
where I
you
said, this guy is
But
actually a lightweight.
Adam,
He's actually a lightweight.
Adam,
Well,
my point to you,
this is
Adam,
that moment for you, for a lot of people, Adam.
my
So
point to
congratulations.
My point to you, Adam, would simply be it's an unusual debating strategy to spend 10 minutes of this debate talking about another debate that most viewers may not have seen.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
pretty ridiculous.
there's other debates that we can bring up. The fact, Dave, when's the last time you were in the
Go
Middle
ahead.
East?
Oh, okay, so this is
I'm
what you're
asking.
falling back to now? Yeah, right. No, you know the
Just
answer.
answer
You're not
the question.
asking. I've answered
don't
it a
know
million
the
times,
answer.
and you know the. I have not been to the Middle East. Go do your best Douglas Murray acting
Okay.
job.
So-
Adam, brother, I was prepared
You've
to come
never
in here on
been,
friendly
right?
terms.
So why
you are
I
humiliating
don't care
yourself
if you're
right
here to
now,
be friends.
dude.
I'm
No,
really
you're
not. I'm really not.
humiliating
Dave,
yourself right now.
You've
Yeah,
been
you are.
humiliating yourself for the past 2 years. Basically saying that America is a
Okay.
terrorist organization, that the IDF is
Yes,
a
we got
terrorist
that.
organization, and you're whitewashing actual terrorism. What are your thoughts on Islamic terrorism coming into the West? What are your thoughts on the war in the West? What do you think of
It's
ISIS?
a huge.
What do you think of the Muslim
Are you
Brotherhood,
asking me
Dave?
questions?
Go ahead.
It's a huge.
I'm asking you a
risk.
question.
And it's a huge risk, especially right now after we just murdered an Ayatollah and his whole family.
What's a huge risk?
Terrorism
What's a huge risk?
Blowback terrorism is a
I'm
huge
not
problem,
asking,
and having
Dave,
not
so
secure
you-
borders
nice try.
is a nightmare
Nice
of a
try.
policy.
I'm not talking
yes,
about.
I'm very concerned
I'm not talking about
terrorism.
blowback terrorism. Do you see what's going on in the West? Do you see what's going on where Piers Morgan lives in London? Do you see what's going on all over the
I've been
world?
an advocate
Why are
of
you
strict
whitewashing
immigration
terrorism?
controls for many years.
by the
I'm
way-
not doing
by
that.
the way,
You're just
the-
making stuff up because you have nothing, dude.
by the way,
Brother, you
I'm
have
not making
nothing
you
here, man.
just said
Adam,
that
when we're-
America
Adam,
is a terrorist
Adam,
organization.
Adam, if you brought my country
He's
into it,
anti-American,
Adam,
and here I am
Adam,
as a proud American
Adam,
saying
you-
that he doesn't know what he's talking
You
about.
said that Dave
God.
couldn't talk about the Middle East because he hasn't been there much. When was the last time you were in England?
I spent much time in England. My ex-wife was
When was
Welsh.
the last
She
time?
wasn't a sheep shagger.
When was the last time?
The last time I was in Europe, in England, in the Middle East, where would you like me to go?
No, England.
The last time I was in England was about 8 years ago.
Right. So this idea, let me
The
tell
last
you.
time I was in
Any of this.
Israel.
Let me tell you.
The last
this
time I was in
idea-
Israel
This
was
idea.
3 years ago.
Oh, Adam,
there is
dude,
a
I
weird.
almost feel
There is a
bad.
weird
Pierce,
idea.
do we have to put this episode
No,
out? I
here's the
like
reason.
Adam.
There
we
is
don't
a
have
weird
to end
idea.
this.
Adam. There are many people.
Are you
on the,
saying that
Hang
not
on,
going to
hang
a
on.
country?
Adam, many people.
Go
on
ahead,
the,
Pierce.
hang on. Many people on the conservative right in America seem to be under the illusion that my country has been taken over by radical Muslims. Let me tell you, I have lived here on and off for the last 8 years, unlike you, and respectfully, we have not been taken over by radical Muslims. It just hasn't happened the way it's been sold by people like Tommy Robinson to Americans, and you're all lapping it up.
How would you define it then, Pierce? How would you define it then, Pierce?
I think we have a Muslim population which is predominantly peaceful and inclusive and settled well. And we have some radical members of radical Muslims, as we have radical members of other religions in this country, and we have to be very wary about it.
What other members of radical? What other members of radical religions?
Hang on. And we have had severe immigration control issues run by successive Conservative and Labour governments who frankly lost control of our border, both to illegal immigration, but also allowed way too many people in legally. And these are proper, legitimate things to be discussed. But framing it, as some people like to do, as my country's been overrun and overtaken by radical Muslims, is just a lie. It's just not true. So yes, there are things to be concerned about. And yes, I want to see everyone who comes here assimilate, and everyone who lives here assimilate into our culture. Of course I do. But this idea that we've been overrun and overtaken is nonsense.
Yeah. Piers, can I just make
one... So you
one,
think it's all blown out of proportion, that everything that everybody is saying about Sharia law being imposed in London and Birmingham,
it hasn't been imposed
that it's overblown?
It hasn't been imposed here.
Okay, anyway.
You're saying that it's over.
There are
Dave,
a number of unofficial Sharia courts operating. They have no legal basis or standing in the UK whatsoever. There is no Sharia law being operated legally in this country. End. It doesn't happen.
Thank you, Piers. Thank you for enlightening me. So you're saying it's all overblown, that Islamification
come over with the whole PBD
overblown?
team and let me take you on a guided tour of the UK, and trust me, you'll be fine.
I'm sure you're going to all the nicest places, and definitely none of the most dangerous places, Piers. I'm sure you're not going to Birmingham or Brick Lane or anything like that.
I love Brick Lane, best curries in England. I love Birmingham, fantastic place.
Incredible Bangladeshi curry.
I'll take you there.
Back to my central thesis here is that Dave thinks that the United States military and the IDF are the equivalent of the Ayatollah and the Hezbollahs and the Hamas.
You've made that point. Dave, final point to you.
I know.
Final point
listen, I mean, I think we all kind of agree that open borders and lack of immigration restrictions are not very sound policy, and that those ought to not be in place. But I do just want to say to the, I guess, almost brushed up against.
Isn't that what libertarians believe in, though? Don't libertarians believe in open borders, Dave?
Let him finish, Adam.
Anyway, let me just finish one point, Adam, since you have nothing to say. Just let me finish the point. Anyway, no, libertarians
I've already said what I've had to say. You've been in a body bag for about a year now.
Then let me finish. Yeah, great. Okay, I've been in a body bag. Anyway, let's see what the reaction to this one is. Let's see what the reaction to this debate is, okay? We'll take a look at that when it comes out.
Sure.
Anyway, but the idea that
we can gladly do that. Great. You're defending terrorism, and you think that the United States is a terrorist organization.
All right.
Let's see what rational MAGA people think. Go ahead, Dave.
Let's see. Okay. Anyway, the idea that you're making the point that the General Wesley Clark thing has been torn apart, and that was my entire case for Israel trying to push America into these wars is absolutely ridiculous. There's much more to it than that, and that point hasn't been torn apart. Pierce, is anyone going to seriously argue that Israel trying to push us into this war with Iran isn't a factor? As Benjamin Netanyahu, the longest-serving prime minister in Israeli history, brags about how this is the culmination of his entire life's work.
Not just that.
He's been advocating this for my entire life.
Well, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, said it